Welcome to Juggling Interviews. This episode is brought to you by eJuggle, the IJ's official online publication, where you can find the latest juggling news, articles, videos, and podcasts, just like this one. If you want to check that out, you can head over to their website at juggle.org/ejuggle, or with the link in the description. This episode is also sponsored by Play Juggling. On their website, you can find high-quality props like balls, clubs, rings, diablos, poise, fire equipments, flower sticks, glow props, and tons more. Head over to playjuggling.com and use my code XavJuggles, XavJuggles10, to get 10% off your next purchase. It's a great way to support me, so thank you a lot, Play Juggling. Now let's get to the episode. Hello guys, welcome back on Juggling Interviews. Today, I'm gladly receiving Spencer for the second time on the podcast. First time I was on my own channel, But now so nice to have you on this edition of the podcast. How are you doing, Spencer?
Yeah. I'm doing great. No, it's good to be on the IJ podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been watching some of these episodes, and I'm like, this is a fun discussion. So I really like the Jean-Baptiste episode that you did last. That was very informative. I'm like, okay, I took some notes. I'm like, all right. Core strengthening, let's do it, you know.
I think Jean-Baptiste would be happy to hear that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I've told him I've been liking his content when it comes to his whole physical preparation for juggling, and his whole going to the gym for juggling type ideas. So just self-maintenance,
Because usually jugglers talk about practice sessions in juggling, but they rarely talk about how you maintain your body when you're not juggling, or before you're juggling or after you're juggling. It's rare that we see all these behind the scenes.
Right.
It's so fun. But here today we have another episode, something new content. We have a new discussion.
Yeah, new concept.
Yeah. I think people should take notes. I think Spencer is one of the people that can give the most advice here. I think especially on the technical juggling, on the performing, you've been doing crazy good lately. Yeah,
it's been good. Yeah, still learning a lot, but yeah. I don't know.
So let's start with
along the way. So.
Even though I asked you in the first episode when you went on the podcast back then, same questions. How did you learn juggling? How did you get introduced to juggling? To get a brief understanding of how all this started.
Yeah. So I started with my cousin Luca Siletti. He also does a lot of ping pong stuff he used to do a lot of ping pong stuff online and all that, like ping pong juggling. But when I lived in Peru, when I was 8, he was my only male cousin that I had. So I was I really wanted to hang out with him, and him and a friend of his were doing a juggling routine, or juggling together and creating a routine. And I was watching them, and I got really, I was like, oh, I want to learn how to do that. So that day, my cousin taught me 3 balls. Then I just got really obsessed with it, and kept going, and yeah.
It's so fun.
That was my main introduction. Yeah.
Was he performing back in the days? Did he have a whole act based on the ping pong stuff, or is that what he does lately?
Yeah. So he went to the circus school in Belgium, the ESAC, ESAC circus school there. So he completed and graduated from there, and he actually had a ball act that was he ended it with 8-ball multiplex, and he phenomenal ball juggler. But then he got this neurological injury in his left hand, that basically he couldn't release the balls on time. It was a weird repetition thing that sometimes musicians get, that sometimes the hand doesn't do the motion on time. it's like a shortage, uh, like with the nerve there. So because of that, he started investigating other props that he could do. So ping pong, he just had to grab onto the paddles and didn't have to like release and clench the hand. So he did perform this act where he would, bounce five ping pong balls with two paddles like against a table, and then he would also do like these different platforms that when the ping pong ball hit each platform and hit a different musical note. Um, so he would like make a whole rhythm based off of hitting those platforms with the ping pong balls. And so he did that act for a little bit, and then now he's doing a lot of like a lot of musical stuff. But he's also gotten more into fitness and coaching people in fitness. So he's still juggling and doing different little things. And he also teaches juggling in Italy at the moment. So yeah.
That's,
Anyway.
that's so interesting. I never heard of the. Is it a disease? Is it just like a condition you get once in, like randomly get on every day? Like you could every day a juggler could just like randomly get it or.
Yeah, well, from what I've talked with my cousin, it's a very rare um it's like a rare thing that sometimes happens. So
Ooh.
it's as he put it, it was just kind of weird bad luck. So it's like it doesn't happen to everybody who does something repetitive
Okay, okay.
necessarily. It's just kind of a yeah, yeah, it sometimes happens to musicians like guitarists, for example, where they're like a
Yeah.
lot of dexterity in the fingers, but then like the nerve gets damaged somehow. Yeah, I don't know what the condition's called, but yeah,
I'm
but yeah,
wondering.
but my yeah,
I'm wondering if
uh,
jugglers, uh, with the amount of impacts we get in the hands or around the body, depending on what people do, like I wonder if like maybe people doing like hand bounce or like forks and stuff. I wonder if like repetition actually end up damaging your hand without you knowing, like because you're so used to getting impacts and hits on your nerves and on your palm, especially with most jugglers. Like
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. That's I'm scared now. Actually, as you're telling me this, I'm scared. I'm like, what? Another injury I have to prevent?
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely worth like stretching and like yeah, I'm like definitely I'm noticing from performing and from doing a lot of a lot of juggling, even when I'm tired and it's like okay, I got a show to do. It's like okay, definitely doing some stuff to maintain your hands and learn how to rest properly. It's like all yeah, it's definitely necessary. And no, and it's crazy what I'm learning. It's interesting like talking to different like acrobats who are way more intense on their bodies, like or hand
Yeah,
balancers when it comes to wrists. It's like they're kind of the people to talk to at times when it comes to like maintaining your wrists because they're more like intense about you know, doing, wrist related things than jugglers are. Um, so, so yeah, it's definitely, good to maintain and strengthen and, you know, yeah, if you're listening to this and you're worried about injury and stuff, listen to the Jean Baptiste podcast because that was cool. Yeah, like, no, it's true. It's like there's a lot for juggling, like it's so niche, like not a lot of people
yeah. It's like
think
super,
about.
super specific advice. Like there's not like crazy tons of sport that use the same motions as juggling, or even like stuff like back crosses or whatever movements we do with the
Yeah,
wrist. There's like so few sports that actually requires that kind of attention on specific body parts.
exactly. Yeah. It's it because I feel like with juggling, a lot of people go into it as like, oh, this is a fun hobby, and then they get really obsessed with it to the point it gets very physically taxing. And so it's like, okay, you go in from being a hobbyist and you're like, oh, 3 balls, I don't really need to warm up. And then you go into like 5 and 7, you want to learn more, but then you haven't trained from the beginning to really stretch and warm up because you got into it from like, like you know, a, just I wanted to learn 3 balls in the beginning.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
Earlier, you touched on a super
yeah,
interesting subject. I
yeah.
want to make a lot of focus on that in the podcast today. Um, what do you do as you're performing to keep your body maintained and your skill level maintained, and even like your creativity? Like, do you still, even if you perform a lot, do you still find time to like find your own style, your own tricks? Do you try to go more than what you do on stage? Do you try to do more than what's in your act? So tell me all about that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, and definitely you have to have your tricks somewhat automatic because there's some days that like for example, I forgot like a show was at 6 and not at 7, and I arrived like a little later. Than I no, like I arrived on time for the show, but a little later for the warm up, and I was like, um, uh, there it's like, okay, shoot, all right, I gotta warm up in the 15 minutes I have rather than the hour, that I usually have, and I have to, just go at, you know, like trust that you've become automatic enough at the tricks you do on stage that it works, and um and you were asking like how do I prepare for stage.
Yeah.
um
Uh,
yeah
regarding tricks, regarding regarding tricks, regarding body maintenance and everything. Like, do you do like strength training, endurance training, as well as finding new tricks? Maybe working on a harder tricks to have your easier tricks, easier to be ready and fresh for the stage.
um well, strength training is something I haven't done much yet. Like I'm at the moment I'm juggling every day, or almost every day. Yeah, like I have 2 days off a week, but I trained yesterday, which was one of my days off. Um, so what I've been doing, well, I've been doing a little bit of core workouts, like in the parts I'm not in the show. Like I've been doing some core workouts just to strengthen the general posture of, of the body to maintain. Because that's been lacking at times for me. Um, but I'm like every time I do a show, I try to start a practice like for an hour, do like 30 minutes to an hour of just getting familiar with the props, um, like before the show, because I feel like a lot of the times you probably experience this when you like touch your props at the beginning of practice, you're like, ooh, something's off, like something, you're like, okay, I need to recondition my brain to
Yeah.
juggling right now. Um, so, so I've been doing that, like in a way, the 30 minutes to an hour is kind of for that purpose, um, before the show. And I try not to go too much longer than that because if not, then I'm tired for the show. So
Yeah.
it's like the challenge of warming up enough that I'm arriving at my routine or my act in the show at like my peak juggling
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
preparedness, if that makes sense, and not like um not at the point where it's where I'm already on the way down. you know you know what
Yeah.
I mean.
What kind of tricks do you do, or warm ups, or even patterns to gradually make you ready for the stage? Do you like literally do the tricks you're gonna do, or do you do stuff that builds up to this and do a couple tries and then you're ready for stage? What's the translation from almost ready to like perfectly ready to do it right now? And not too tired as well.
Mhm. Um, well, I mean, I definitely start the practice with like three ball and just kind of like do side swaps that really, you know, test the, you know, accuracy. It tests like I do like high throws and try not to move too much, and then like fast throws and shuffling, like a lot of side swaps with ones in them, just trying to activate the hands and trying to activate the juggling. And yeah, and then I like kind of do like a normal practice and but then also like definitely repeat the tricks I do on stage like a good amount. Uh, sorry, there's like some sunlight right in my eye. Um, yeah, could I close this curtain
Yeah,
real quick?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be right back. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. All right. Um, and so I basically like start my practice. Yeah, normally like testing out all the different side swaps and different throws, like crossing throws and non-crossing throws. Like I realize like variety for me like really helps wake up the juggling. The more variety you have, the more flexible, quote unquote flexible you are when it comes to different types of throws and like coordination and all that. Um so yeah, I just try to keep the variety going, but then also like maintain the tricks I do on stage. Um, and do those several times, or sometimes do them right off the bat just to test the consistency of them. Like if I when I get to five balls, I try like my five ball sequence right off the bat and see how it goes. Um, and yeah, and then if it doesn't go well, I'm like, okay, I need to warm up a little more and make sure it goes well.
But
Um, but yeah,
that's as the warm up before the show, right? But in the context of just let's say you have an hour free and you just want to juggle for yourself for fun or
yeah.
something. What would be the kind of tricks or the kind of stuff would you be
Mhm.
working on? Like I said, would you still have space for creativity or even pushing even more performance or trying new tricks or new combinations, or do you try to be a bit more conservative and have your tricks right in your pocket? So yeah, like you always practice the same ones to always be fresh and ready to do them. So what would be like the ratio of like new tricks versus reinforcing what you already have?
Yeah, yeah. Well, lately I've been kind of in a phase of, thinking about performance tricks. It's like tricks I've done before, but just making them more and more consistent. Is kind of the mode I've been in. Although yesterday I did a practice where I just threw hard, like I warmed up a little bit and just threw hard tricks because I was with another juggler friend of mine. So I was just like feeling the motivation and you know, there I was just going for just hard tricks because I hadn't done it in a little bit. Um, so so yeah, and yeah, definitely like for me, I feel like my juggling is in a weirdly different stage um, of like, okay, I've worked on a lot of these hard tricks and I've gotten them before and I'm like, okay, which out of those hard tricks, which can I get more consistent at and could be more could go more into a show. Um, yeah, it's like less about pushing right now, but it's still pushing. It's like pushing for show
Yeah, but
rather than
the tricks
pushing.
you do in shows
Oh,
are like super high level, so it's still pushing for a live audience. Like it's very very
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I feel like to put a trick in the show, you have to get to a point where that trick is, you know, you don't overthink it anymore or something. Um, yeah, because often like there's sometimes those mental barriers of like, well, I hit this in front of people, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I got to repeat this trick, and then often if I put a trick in the show, I have to try it in front of people one day and see how it goes. But to try it, it has to be like decently not risky. um, and then if it goes well, it's like okay, I can keep doing it. But then also like keep maintaining it. Um, yeah, yeah, it's a big decision putting a big trick in a show. But
Makes me
yeah,
wonder. Let's say you have any juggler. Imagine a juggler whose record is like 50 catches of three
yeah.
ball back crosses, or any tricks like that.
Mhm.
What would you suggest? Let's say that juggler wants to perform back crosses in the show. What's the comfort zone for you, especially just you? Let's say, okay, let's say
No, it's okay.
I'm the juggler. I have like a record of like,
Yeah,
let's say 50 catches of three ball back crosses. And I'm like, I want to put three ball back crosses in my next show, in my next act. What would
yeah.
you recommend me as a juggler to put? Let's say I absolutely want to perform the three ball back crosses. Do you just suggest a qualifier so I'm absolutely solid at it, or would you tell me to do like a whole 30 catches because I'm maybe able to do it? What's the limit of pushing it too much?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would like if I were that juggler, I would question like what is something I do have consistent. Uh, like cuz I've done 50 catches as my record, right? Once. But then I'm like when I attempt the trick every time, am I getting a qualify every time or am I getting maybe 20 catches? Like if you're getting 20 catches every time, then doing a qualify on stage is like okay, like for sure gonna happen. Then you also take into consideration how comfortable you are on stage in some way as well, because yeah, it's like um slowly increasing the trick if you want to do it. And I would think like doing 20 catches of three ball back crosses on stage would probably be a long time.
Yeah,
Like it would be a little too long, but like for the sake of the example, um, yeah, if you wanted to do something that is as hard as 20 catches of three ball back crosses to someone, and basically I would question how consistent it is,
yeah,
because yeah, you can say you got I don't know 50 catches of seven clubs as your
yeah,
record, but you got it once, but then you struggle to qualify it every time and you want to put a qualify on stage because you got 50 catches once. It's like the consistency, like putting stuff on stage is about consistency, I feel. Or yeah, and being able to not crack under the pressure of it,
yeah,
because
yeah,
on stage it's like yeah, on stage you can be very consistent in practice at tricks, and then on stage is a completely different field. It sometimes feels, like you definitely have the foundation of it in practice, but then putting it on stage takes, like it takes extra practice. I feel, and I guess it depends how much experience you have with an audience. Because sometimes it really gets to your head that you're in front of people,
yeah,
and then sometimes you are so used to it that you can enter the flow state and really do it well. Um, yeah, so it's really just knowing yourself but then also trying stuff, like just like not being afraid to try stuff in front of people, in front of an audience that you know, one thing I also notice is when you fail on stage, but then do a ton of other tricks, people have not seen juggling like you've done it before, so they'll enjoy the act. So a lot of the times, trying one trick or a few tricks in an act that you feel decently comfortable with, if they fail, not the end of the act. If you keep the
yeah,
energy up. So it's yeah, 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 a lot of people use the rule of like you have to do a trick 10 times in a row, dropless.
mm,
Uh, but but I don't know if I fully. like agree with that rule all the time because there's sometimes different factors why you miss a trick on the seventh try, you know? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just haven't rested properly between the tricks. That makes sense. Um, yeah, yeah, and you can probably do that trick well in the scenario in your act, you know? Yeah,
But let's say
yeah,
like your acts are very technically demanding. How do you
yeah.
come up with each of these tricks? Do you, especially because there's sequences like your especially I imagine like your
Mhm.
classic five club sequences where you play with the levels and the spins and even the reverse spins, and then you play with the planes as well, doing flat planes versus in front. How do you like come up with these routines? Do you practice like, let's say, just flats and normal throws on with like double spins on the left hand and then flats on the right for like 30 minutes, and then you do that one for 30 minutes and that gets you warmed up for stage? Or like at this point, is it routines? Is your act like routine based, especially in your practice? Are you like doing like this, say the 30-second five club routine, and you practice that one again and again and again? Or do you do like small portions of like, I don't know exactly which tricks, but let's say you want to do like five ball, not five ball, five clubs back crosses in that sequence? Would you spend like an extra 15 minutes just on that run of five clubs? Tell me.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I definitely try to do, um, yeah, I definitely do the the complete sequence and try to get that sequence solid. And then if I keep dropping on like one part of the sequence somehow, I'm like, okay, I isolate that trick. Like for example, if I drop on like the half shower, like spin flat reverse five club trick that I like doing. Um, if I miss that one a little more than I'm comfortable with while warming up, I isolate that trick and I work on it. And for example, I do a quarter turn or no, like a half. I do a half turn. Like sometimes I do like a full
Yeah.
360 with the trick, like like all the way around. But in the act, I'm doing currently like a 180 with it, and so if I'm doing a 180 with it in the act, I'm like, okay, let me do the 360 with it in
Yeah.
practice just to keep practicing the consistency of it. So I like extend the endurance of it just to really hone it in. And same thing with like five club back crosses. I do like 7 catches or 10 catches in the act of five club back crosses, but then I'm like, okay, let me run it for as long as longer than I need to, but like really make it feel solid. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like I practice the sequence first, and if the sequence feels good, I repeat it a few more times just. And like in the end, I realize the sequence, I end up dropping a little bit the sequence later because I've like monotonously like practiced it. But I'm like, okay, but it's like when I've rested properly, it's gonna go well. It's what I kind of have faith in there.
But
And
also
then
something you
but yeah,
can
but
something
yeah.
you can admire is like everyday consistency is even different than like if you practice for a long time for one day. Because let's say I spent 2 hours on that one part I keep dropping on, it could do some
Mhm.
work, it could help a little bit, but then if I've been working on that part transition or any trick in particular for like 2 months every day in warm up, I think that's like
Yeah.
that's like just genius work. Like at this point, how can you drop it anymore? You've been working on it for 60 days, and your brain always has time to like rethink about it and then like always make up for the mistakes that you used to make, but now you know how to correct them even easier. But
Right, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah,
wondering.
definitely.
No, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
Yeah. That
No, I was about to
yeah,
transition.
it definitely yeah. Yeah, it definitely is like it's yeah, with the tricks, they have to kind of become like some days you're working on the trick a lot and it's just not the day for that trick. And then the next day it feels smoother, because you've done the work one day, haven't seen the results, but your body still kind of like is getting to know the trick again. So it like, um, yeah, sometimes it's days like that. But those are kind of the tricks you kind of keep out of your routine because you have to be on it most of the time when you do an act. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Because yeah, no, there's no most stressful feeling than knowing you're gonna go on stage and you're like still not ready about some tricks, and you're like there's like 50
mm,
percent chance I drop. So that's very nerve wracking. I've experienced it too, and I because I had like very low amount of time to prepare for a show, so I was kind of nervous. But then I know now from now on I can like actually build up the actual amount of confidence for the trick itself. Like I think as soon as your brain knows you could do it in this exact amount of time, let's say your show is in 1 hour, your brain is convinced you can do that thing for that amount of time for that amount of catches. I think you already have like half of the trick done just mentally. Then it's just like actually
right.
going for it. If you're like still doubting it, it gets stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Uh, I feel like even if you one thing I think about is if a trick is risky and I miss it on stage, how will I react in front of the audience is also a good exercise to think about, right? Because it's not like the audience cares about the tricks, but it also cares about the energy you portray as a person, like whether you accept it or not. It's like if you do a trick and collect and you nail the trick, and but like the audience doesn't feel acknowledged, like then your act can look boring to them. So it's like often when I'm doing a risky trick and maybe I miss it, I'm like, okay, how do I recover from this and keep the energy up? Sometimes it's like, all right, let's do a kick up back into the pattern. That's like a fun one. I like doing that. Like people even afterwards go like, "Oh, was that on purpose?" And I'm like, "Yeah, totally." No, no, I joke around with them that it was on purpose, but like people just, you have control when you're on stage, um, so it's a balance as well, you can play around on stage a little bit too.
But also
So
like
yeah,
I, you've been kind of new on the performing scene, but in the last few years you got many contracts and you've been on tours and you've been working with multiple companies. How has the act creating been
yeah.
and working with new teams every time? And now you tell me with the contract you're doing at the moment with the Zinzani, you're working at
Yep.
one specific place. It's not like a tour. So how does these experience shape up your juggling, and how do you make your acts for these places, knowing that you're maybe gonna stay at one place for the next couple months, or that you're gonna move around?
Um, yeah, well, I've always, before doing Zanzani, I've done longer contracts that have been touring, right? And those are sometimes interesting because the places have different conditions in them, like different temperatures, different, you know, like some are wet and rainy and the water's flowing through the tent. Or if you do an outdoor show, which I did recently, the outdoor show was it even more interesting because it changed the different, you have like sun in your face and you have to deal with it. And like um but then it's been really nice having a consistent, that the condition is the same, it's the same show, but also there's still things that vary, Sometimes a light cue, for example, they made a mistake on a light cue somehow, and it like, okay, you have to keep the show going, or like someone forgot a certain cue and didn't get your prop there or something. Like there's always random things that could happen. Um, yeah, no, Zanzani actually has been great about it, like in terms of like um, no, like it doesn't happen often, but it happens because
It happens everywhere.
there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah, it's like all these, yeah, any stage you go to, there's a lot of random, unexpected circumstances that could happen. Um, yeah, or it's like sometimes, oh, like a performer got, a performer can't do their cue right now, and you have to cover for them, and then do your act, right? Like maybe like pull an aerial act, and then you have to and then you have to do another juggling related thing and your arms feel a little different. Like there's a little different things that happen. Um that you just gotta that's why making things more and more automatic or just, you know, a good rule of thumb. And yeah, I don't know if I answered that question or but yeah.
But also, I want to touch on the act creating. You got some very cool acts,
Yeah.
and it all depends with the amount of people you have around you, and it's always different. It's not always the same people with the same skill set. Oh yeah, how do you mix up your new environment to your new acts, and how do you come up with creating these acts depending on where you're gonna
Yeah,
perform and with who?
for sure. Well, yeah, this, for example, this contract is interesting because it's in the round. For example, it's like I have people all around me. So it's not like a two-dimensional act that you would perform at like an IJA or a juggling festival that people are just looking at you from the front, you know? But people are looking at you from all around. So this has been like an interesting challenge for me because I have to like, okay, rotate properly to acknowledge all the audience, you know? Um, so so yeah, with um with that challenge, I'm like, okay, I need to do a trick that the front sees well, and then I need to do a trick that I'm also looking at the side as well, and then do another trick that I look at this other side, and then okay, I do a trick and present to the front. I can do a trick and present to the back as well. Um, but then also thinking of them as front and back is not really accurate because they're all the front,
Yeah,
right? They're all, they're like that's because if I think that's the front, then I'll do a lot of things to the front, right? And then there's people's entire show experience that will like feel not fully acknowledged because I thought that was the front and I'm like not, paying attention to anyone in what I'm considering the back, right? So so it's definitely a mind game entering this stage right now because well, I've gotten used to it at this point because it's been a few months, but at first it was like, okay, I gotta because what's funny is the people in the very front are like the general audience and then there's people along the stage that that are considered the VIP. So I'm like, okay, these people,
the VIPs.
the VIP needs to be
Yeah.
acknowledged, but then they're also in an interesting spot. And then I also am surrounded by glasses and silverware, so I'm like, okay, I definitely can't drop um on them, or it's like, yeah, if I do have a recovery uh gag or something. If you know what I mean. So there's like a few things about this venue that have been fun and interesting, but then also I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure and catch the clubs. Um, yeah, yeah, and yeah, I haven't broken a glass so far, so knock on wood.
That'd be an immersive VIP experience to have like the performers props right on your table. Yeah, you spilled your drinks, but it's there. Like it's immersive. It's right in your face.
Exactly, exactly.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know
No,
what could
I
be
dropped.
fun?
I dropped.
No, no, go
Oh,
go
go
for it.
ahead. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I like dropped a ring once on like one of the tables, or like rolled across and like around their cups. and it like landed around, and I was like trying to grab it, but it was like around everything. And I was like, then I went to talk to them afterwards, and they were like, "No, we're having a great time. That was so fun." Like they were like right in the action. So a lot of people like it, but then yeah, sometimes it's like, yeah, you don't want to make a VIP mad.
No, yeah, yeah. These are funny. Do you have any more like random stories or little bits of like fails or funny moments like these that happens that you don't expect coming? Like especially in live audience, it's such a different setting than like bloopers you might have by yourself when you're practicing. Like, do you have any funny stories?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I did an outdoor tour um with Hideaway Circus over the summer, and we did this location that was like by this massive lake, right? Where was it? Like New York State, I think, in New York State. And and so there was like a lot of wind there. And we were outdoors, and we did a five-person club passing act. Um, uh, which was a lot of fun. Like we did all these like colorful clubs. Like it would all start with white clubs and then go into red clubs and then go into all kinds of crazy color clubs at the end. It was like a really beautiful act. Um, yeah, I'm proud of that act that we did. But in this location, uh, we had to we had to do the act. And what's funny is we had slightly prepared a easier version of the act for wind, right?
Okay.
And and we're like, okay, we're gonna do that one, and then the wind just kind of stops, and we're like, okay, actually, let's just do the more fun version, right? Like, so we walk on stage for the act, the wind comes back. The wind is just like super strong to the point that would start juggling three clubs and the wind would just like slice right through it, and we'd be dropping everything. Uh, and we're like trying to even do like one trick, and it's all just the clubs are just like plowing off the stage, and the audience is there, and we're just like, we're just like, like we're just trying to pose and like keep the energy up of the act being fun, but everything's just going wrong because of the wind, um, with the clubs. So that was a funny time because we just decided right before like, oh, let's just do the normal act, and the wind comes back stronger
Oh,
than
that's
ever, and boom.
horrible. I think that's like a lot of
So
jugglers' nightmare to perform with that much wind. Like, good thing you weren't doing like any
oh
ring act there. I think the ring would have been to a lot of
yeah.
VIPs.
What is
I think.
Yeah, exactly. No, what's funny is I did do like a ring bit at the beginning where they all threw rings at my head, like the whole cast did. It's like the beginning, like one of the beginning acts of the show, where we all come out and do a charivari, which is like we all present our characters in the show. But yeah, and there was once they were all throwing the rings, and the rings were just going straight to the side, like off the stage, and yeah, it's like what can you do? But then yeah, like that's the part where you kind of have to have a backup, like, hey, we're still happy, we're still having a good time because the audience is there to have a good time. So yeah, it's
But
like just
also,
laugh about it at that point.
out of that, like, I don't know if it's just for me, but like
Yeah.
I'm super interested into looking out to more performing. But then when you first started doing a lot of stages and performing for a large amount of people, how do you practice to like have a stage confidence and stage presence? Did you do it at home in front of a mirror, or was it like awkward at first and then it got easier and easier? Let's say a juggler wanted to start performing for people. What would you recommend them to have a better stage presence?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like I've definitely like nothing teaches you more than in a way practice and just performing, just going out there and doing your thing. It's like you get better and better at like yeah, at being on stage. Um and in a way like yeah, like you need like sometimes when it comes to like stage presence and performing and collecting a trick and posing and like all that stuff, it's like you like with any trick that gets a good impression in your act, you start to notice like, oh, what works, what doesn't, like and yeah, making like random eye contact with the audience and like pointing their direction and just having fun. It's like that is I think having the mentality like I'm gonna show the tricks I've worked on that no one's seen because usually a non-juggling audience hasn't seen the tricks you're about to do. So
Yeah.
being confident that you have something to show, and then also like um, trying to find moments where you can connect with the audience. Like it's all practice in a way. Like it's all it takes time, but really um yeah, really just pointing like finding different moments with the audience helps. And like sometimes when I'm like not feeling it or like a little nervous before, I like saying the phrase like just have fun with it is like what I tell myself. Like I just need to have fun with it now. Like, like I get to, perform and people clap at what I do. Or,
Yeah,
and it's like let me just have a blast and
because
because in a way you're
the audience wants to
yeah,
see you have fun too doing it.
exactly. And you're kind of already on a pedestal.
Yeah,
Like
on the
literally you're on a
stage.
stage or you're so it's like they're expecting you to do something, and no matter what you do, you're going to be juggling in this case, right? No matter what you do, you're going to be doing something that, they'll be impressed by. So it's like, you know, sometimes you got to walk in like a rock star and just like have fun, you know? And then
It's,
then you start learning like what things are fun. Yeah.
also, it's getting sometimes it's hard because then you get into your head. You're like, I need to show, I need to prove them that I can do it or something. And then you get up, like especially for myself, like when I did my first stage in my act, like I ended up being in my bubble. I'm like, don't drop, don't drop. Okay, what's next? Like I was visibly like
Yeah.
not giving that much attention to the audience because someone filmed it, and when looking back at the footage, like I was doing like half celebrations, like collecting, and then I do like a half pose, but I look like empty, like there's no connection to the audience because I'm just asking to myself like, okay, I need to do this next. I hope the cue, because I had assistants too, like I was wondering, I hope the assistants remembered the cue. I hope they don't mess up the next one and doing this and this. And I'm like not
Yeah.
taking the moment seriously with the audience because I don't know. I regret that. I think breathing while performing would be
Yeah.
easier. If you breathe, you may give yourself more time and more connections with the audience.
Yeah, yeah. But I will say that's also your um like we've talked about this, like that's also one of your first performances per se, right? Like that's one of your like or you're not used to performing yet because you haven't done it much. So it's like it's just natural that to get in your head or to really hyper focus on things. Um
Yeah,
like uh so it's like it'll just get easier from there, like at first you're wanting to like for example the first time you do seven balls you're like super tense throwing all the balls like trying to you're trying to make it happen and you're like trying your best to make it happen but then once you get more practice and you start getting more comfortable like seven balls can flow, right? You're not
Yeah.
as tense, not as. So I feel like, with most things, it's like at first you're tense about it and you're overthinking it, and um, you're yeah, you have a lot of time to, or have yeah, you have all your questions and all your worries about an act. um but then once you've done it a few times, you're like, okay, I did it last time, people liked it, we can keep doing it, like. And what happens to me often is when I have a long time before I do my act, um that's where it really gets to my head, because I have more time of doing nothing, well, in the show,
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
have to mentally prepare. Mentally, I kind of like when it catches me by surprise that, oof, my act is up, because I don't think about it and I just go with the practice, what's
Yeah.
consistent, um, so yeah, it's definitely a um, mental thing. And I definitely, like, I learned this from a friend of mine who's a clown that I worked with, because I asked him, like, how do you like get in the frame of mind where you have to be a character and you have to be so emotionally explosive and like super, like 0 to 100, right? Like how do you get in that frame of mind? And he's like, oh, I'm starting to develop my routine here, like for like before the show. So it all starts with your mental preparation before the show, of like, all right, sit down, stay calm, stretch, um, put your makeup on for the show, or like, um, have, you know, either talk to your castmates, or something that like kind of gets you
Distracts
in a
you.
mode that sort of, but like kind of gets you in a routine where your body starts learning, this is what I do right now. Like psychologically um you're psychologically getting into show mode, because your body is like, okay, there's this pattern, or this routine that I'm doing, that I know how it's going to end with me doing the act, or how it's going to continue with me doing the act. So your body is preparing. It's not just getting shocked into the act, but
Yeah.
it's like you're developing a routine that you feel like you're you're safe, because it's familiar. You need to develop something familiar for you to get on stage, and feel like good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, 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 absolutely.
so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think it was rightfully stressful for my first act because it was like a one-time show. I didn't reperform that act either. Like it was just a one-time thing, and I had like minimal preparation. So like I saw my name coming up in the list, and I was like, "Crap! I could
yeah,
have I could have gotten myself like a week extra to practice it." So then, yeah, it was nerve-wracking. But I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm,
yeah,
I'm super curious. Like in the last year, I mean, in 2023, you were like 1,000% on social medias, and like a lot of people discovered you that year too, probably. And you made like very,
yeah.
very important posts. And then, sorry, that was 2024. And then, wait, no, that was 2023. My bad. Okay. And then coming up
Yeah.
into 2024, you've been more on the showing on the performance. You've been showing a lot of clips on your tours, especially with Hideaway, with your acts, and we maybe don't see as many clips as we used to see, or as many montage or edits of your practice sessions or anything. But how has your the words, man. So
In English, yeah.
redoing that sentence. Oh
All
yeah,
right, all right. We
coming up
got
in
this.
2024, you've been showing a lot of your clips from acts and from tours, but at the back of your mind, what
Yeah.
were your future aspirations? Do you plan on doing maybe more of these banger tricks that got you famous and that got you where you're here at the moment? or are you planning to continue focusing even more on the technical performing, sharing both at the same time?
Yeah, man. So yeah, so lately I haven't been posting too much because I've been honestly really busy, but also having an amazing time just like I'm still juggling a ton, like probably more than I've ever juggled. I mean, but in a certain way, like it's not like I'm in my gym practicing, in the gym practicing and you know, like I have nothing else to do that I can just push tricks. Like currently, like it's finding the balance between I'm performing and preparing to perform like every day or like 5 days a week for sure. And and then finding the balance and the energy to keep pushing a trick, for example. Um, like honestly for a little bit now, I mean like since 2024, I mean like since kind of after I hit the DB with 7 clubs, I'm like, okay, I've pushed my ceiling of juggling. Like I've pushed, you know, like the limit of what I can do with crazy tricks. I've really gone hard at like getting hard tricks. But then I'm like, okay, how can I push my consistency more? Is kind of what I find a lot more satisfying, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, like for example, like okay, maybe I can go for an 8 ball FDB 97531, for example. But I rather feel confident that I can juggle 8 balls for 100 catches. You know, like that's kind of like more important to me than going for a hard trick that I hit once for social media. Um, and Yeah, and I've gotten to the point too where I'm very creatively and artistically inspired by, making a great juggling act, and like I'm a little more inspired by that than, hitting a ridiculous trick. you know,
yeah,
like it just feels better for me right now. Um like and like I'm still maintaining my juggling like that. Well, that's I guess the whole point of me maintaining my juggling, maintaining my consistency. Because I'm like, yeah, because that honestly feels really good to me to be hitting, you know, like a difficult trick consistently than a really difficult trick once,
once,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
um, so and yeah, and then just yeah, I have a few act ideas I've been working on that like I'm really inspired by. I met a lot of other circus people in different disciplines that have like amazing ideas and I would love to one day, for example, like one of my aspirations is to one day perform in Monte Carlo, like which is like the biggest circus festival in the world, you know, the highest level and like stuff like that that require more consistency in difficult tricks than,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you don't get to, you know. Yeah,
They're not
it's like a
good. They're
different
not gonna
stage
look
for
at
me
your. They're
with
not gonna
juggling.
look at your social medias. They're gonna look at your performance in the past. I think that's how they find out the people they want to hire.
Yeah, they're not going to be like, "Oh, look at your we saw your DB 97531 with clubs. Come perform." I'm like, "Okay." Like yeah, it's like it's going to be I want to make like my goal would be to make an act that I'm like incredibly proud of that is very difficult with tricks that are very difficult to put in an act, like
Yeah,
ridiculous tricks to put in an act that look great, but they aren't ridiculous for Instagram videos, you know what I mean? Or
yeah,
it's like or maybe they are, but like they're not a DB with,
yeah. So
but they're like yeah,
I think
like keep
also
pushing what can be done on stage,
also I
is
don't know
kind
if
of
that's
the
your
idea.
I don't know if that's your aspirations or future goal, but also if you continue competing in like WJF and technical juggling, being even more consistent on these even harder tricks, that's like the best scoring thing than doing like trick shots or like one-offs and trying to do like one thing specifically and like putting all your grind into that. I think I've been thinking about this thing where if I had to put like all my savings on one juggler to do a 7 club qualify, who would that be? And I think I haven't got a better answer than probably you.
Dang, it's a lot of trust. Yeah, if I ever get to do that 7 club qualify, don't tell me you bet a lot of money on it. That would put a lot of pressure on me. I just gotta. It would get too much in my head. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Dumb
Well,
questions. I don't know.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
I'm like Kaito Tanioka would be probably mine as well.
oh, Kaito's been
Yeah,
insane. Like, oh yeah.
dude.
Would you mind having a little part of about the top 40 this year? It's still relevant, still recent.
Oh yeah.
It got revealed like this week or last week.
Yeah,
How do you feel
yeah,
about the
yeah.
top 40
Uh,
this year?
I I loved it. I was like, um, I mean, like the top 40, like maybe some people don't enjoy it because it's like there's a lot other juggling happening, and it's in a way it's like whoever's most popular gets on the chart is pretty much, but like a lot of the times really well deserved. Um, but I liked all the new jugglers on the chart, and like I like how yeah, I like how the top 40 really shapes like the social media of juggling online. Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I loved his posts, I loved her posts, I loved their posts. Like, I loved yeah, it's like a cool recap. Uh, and yeah, like I'm happy that like Mark Williams made it on the top 40 this year with his 3 hoop juggling, like, and yeah, and Amaron got second is incredible. Like it's awesome because he full on deserved it.
Oh yeah.
Like that video is insane. Like I lost it when I saw that video. I was like, this is a new Wes Pedum video coming out. That was the feeling I had when I
Yeah.
saw it.
Yeah, it's the
Uh,
same amount of hype.
and yeah, yeah. And like Kaito getting number one, like there's no one else. Like of course, like
You know,
he just
something fun though. Like I
yeah.
think that's one of the first year I couldn't guess who's gonna be first. I was expecting
Yeah.
either Masahiro or Kaito or
Yeah,
Amron. One of these three. I was expecting one of these three. I mean, that's the top.
that is true. Yeah.
That's the top three, but I couldn't tell who's gonna be the number one. I think there was so many people voting for them because they did incredible stuff. Even though it's like one clip from like Masahiro this year, and like one picture in
Yeah.
2024, I think. But then Amron one video, but then Kaito throughout the whole year, I was like wondering which of these would like work more into the top 40 and into the people's vote.
Yeah. 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 For me, I'm like Masahiro. I was I was discussing this with a friend of mine, but I was like, I was I'm shocked the impact of just one post, right? Like just one post it got him like third place, which is like incredible. Like and but then he also performed at EJC and people
Yeah.
saw him in person. But like yeah, I'm like yeah, like Masahiro's a beast, but I was like wondering, would he make it like I was surprised he made top 5 just because it's one post. Like although I voted for him, like obviously, like but I was like, whoa, like, yeah, yeah, like that one post had so much, just like, such an impact on the community. I got number 3. It's so cool.
I feel like that's
Yeah,
also like Delaney's recipe, doing like banger clips, like
yeah,
very sporadically in the year, banger clips. They're right there. So that's like kicking
yeah, yeah,
in the bee's nest or something. Like it's just kicking in the juggling community. You're like, oh, you don't believe it.
yeah,
As I mean, it's similar as your DB, but like
yeah.
throughout the year, you had, even though the DB came with a banger video with the documentary, was super super good content. Like the long format, it was awesome. Also, like you had crazy posts throughout all the year, so like the first place wasn't like contested at all. I don't think I don't think I that year could have been. I don't know. I think that was one of my safest guesses for top one, but then yeah, yeah, I don't know. Did you expect your placement this year? You were crazy high up in there.
Oh, yeah, number four. It surprised me. Expect to be. I didn't expect to be top, or like I was like top 10, like definitely not top five. I was like, no, I didn't expect to be top five because I didn't post too much this year, you know. Like, um, but yeah, I'm like, I guess I've met a decent amount of people this last year, like at conventions and in shows and stuff. But like, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I was very surprised. I was number four. I was like, I was like watching the top 40, and I was like, okay, they just announced number 11. Okay, am I number 10 or am I like where am I here?
Okay.
Um, and then like it got to number five, Bo, and I was like, there's no way. Like, and so I was like, yeah, yeah. So I was honestly really surprised that I got that far this year because I don't feel like I posted much,
Yeah, but
especially since
like you said, it's
yeah
very centered about social medias and like videos and content you put out. Like there's, I think everyone could agree that maybe the top 40 isn't like the most truthful top because I think there's crazy performers that just don't post at all that deserves to be like recognized in these kind of tops. But I mean, there's pretty much no other way to like do a top 40 jugglers if it wasn't from like people's voting and popularity in some sort. I think it would be like either in competitions like a WJF would like count the top 40 if there was like crazy tons of contestants or something, but that would be technical juggling then, and then it would miss out on like the creativity and the performing as well. Like I think
yeah
it's not top 40 doesn't describe your value as a juggler, but I think it's hard to find a better way to like englobe everything.
yeah it is a popularity contest, like, and it's like I feel like what impacted me being number four is because I was number one last year, you know? Like, it's just like, it's kind of like people still have me in mind, even though, like, for example, Anthony Gatto and Wes Peden are voted for every single year, or Anthony Gatto was voted for every single year, even though he stopped juggling because he was Anthony Gatto.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like Wes Peden keeps being voted every year because he's Wes Peden, like, and he, like, his impact from one year passes over to the next.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, in a way, yeah, like, I bet Kaito, like, next year will be voted for again whether he makes a post or not because
Yeah, it's a
like
continuity of what he's
he,
built.
he's still popular. Yeah, he's still remembered, and he's still yeah, like yeah, people assume he's still killing it. So yeah,
But also,
um,
like, even people
and
like Wes continued performing and did some clips here and there on Instagram. It was very cool. Nuggets of tricks and
yeah,
stuff. But, like, there's a lot of stuff happening
yeah,
behind the phone. Like, you don't see what's happening in their life and if they're not, like, doing crazy shows.
exactly.
Let's say Masahiro didn't do a IG post. It would be safe to assume
Mhm.
that just based off the clips we saw from the EJC performance, he would have made it into the top 40 just because like how crazy that impacted that amount of people at that time. Like I don't think I don't know. I think it's fun. It's a fun thing to think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that somehow. Uh, yeah, I'm like, yeah, because Masahiro is like a like kind of a more mysterious character on Instagram because it's like you don't see a lot from him, but you're like, yeah, that guy who threw seven clubs in Alberts, um,
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah.
He's like a
Yeah,
legendary
but
Pokemon.
either way, I'm on.
He's like legendary
Exactly.
Pokemon. Like he's just too mystic. I don't know.
Yeah, that one post is like, yeah, the most ridiculous card you could ever get, you know?
Yeah. It's not the most popular
Yeah.
card. There's not a lot of people knows about that card. It doesn't have like a million views, but it's like it's just there. Like it's the rarest card.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't
yeah.
know.
Right.
I think we're getting off the topic, but I don't know. It's a fun thing to think about.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
close up this episode, it's been a nice hour. If y'all still tuning in, it's so
Oh, yeah.
fun to have you there.
You're still
Spencer.
here.
Yeah, you're still here. What can we do for them? Sorry for people in audio. Let's do. Do you have any props? Let's do small tricks for them. I don't know, a reward.
Small trick. All right.
I don't know. I'm just coming up with this. People are here. Let's give a small reward.
All right. You said small.
Literally, yeah.
There you go.
The smallest pancakes. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Overhead.
Oh,
I don't know if you can even. Yeah.
that was small. Like that was. Damn. Okay. Yeah, Spencer.
Back it up.
To. Oh, yeah. Okay. You want to do something funny? For first time, I
Sure.
think in the juggling podcast, maybe. I don't know. Do you want to answer the last question and close up the episode while doing a fireball cascade, and you don't drop till the end?
Oh. All right. I need more space. All right.
Sorry for people in audio,
Yeah.
but we'll tell you if Spencer drops. So okay, he starts now. All right, Spencer, what can we expect from you in the future, in the next year, maybe?
You can expect me to keep performing and posting temporary performing posts.
It's hard to keep with the speech, right?
Yeah. Well, I will say you can expect maybe some cool tricks because I've been getting back into like pushing a few tricks. So hopefully those will happen. And like I'm in one place at a time for a second. Yeah. I do want to keep pushing some tricks and see what's possible.
So everyone watching to see that
I didn't drop.
No, yeah, you haven't dropped yet. So for people watching, Spencer's Instagram name is under his video. Just look at Spence the Juggler if you want to see these clips maybe coming up on Instagram or YouTube even. The links are gonna be. Oh, all right, you stop. Okay, he stopped. He didn't drop. He stopped.
I answered the question though, so.
There you go. Yep. Great job. That was fun. Yeah. So follow
fun, yeah.
follow Spencer's on social medias and even do you have is there any links I could put for finding tickets maybe for the show you're performing at the moment in Seattle? If someone lives near the area.
Yeah, Teatro Zanzani. Yeah, let me. I can send you that link right when we're done. I can do that.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
So people look in the description. I'll provide you that link if you want to see Spencer perform live. Spencer, in 3 words, what can people find in your act? Sell your act in 3 words. Putting you on the spot here. Huh?
Explosive, exciting, and technical.
There you go. I think
There we go.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I want to see it just based off the 3 words. Yep.
There we go.
All right. So yeah. So follow Spencer on every social medias. Thank you for being here, Spencer, again for another time.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for being the nice guest here.
For sure. No, hopefully everything I said made sense. And it wasn't too scatterbrained. But yeah.
I think I was worse. Like my brain wasn't ready to do to ask questions today, but I'm still here. I think that's still a good episode. Yeah, I think that's still a good episode.
Yeah.
So I hope y'all
Oh, yeah.
liked it too.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for watching this whole hour. It's a bit longer episode, but like, who has enough Spencer in their YouTube feed? I don't think anyone has enough Spencer. So thank you,
I
thank
need to
you.
post more, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks
Cool.
everyone for watching. Keep juggling, keep having fun. See you in the next one.